Hello my loves and welcome back to your favorite crochet channel. And if you're new here, hi, I'm Belina, 22 years old, and I've been doing crochet YouTube tutorials for almost 2 years now. And I also proudly own my own yarn brand since about a year. And if there's one question that I heard most in the past years of me crocheting is, hey, can you make this for me? And no, I cannot, but I can teach you how to crochet so you can do it on your own. And because I also started my yarn brand to just inspire people to start crocheting aesthetically pleasing fashion pieces, you can get sets there to crochet them. They will also restock soon, and there's like a third drop on the way, just if you want to check out. Yeah, because of that I was like, maybe I should also start a little beginner series where I teach everyone how to start with crocheting, because I think starting something new, especially when it comes to crocheting, when you don't have like friends that already do it, yeah, that's like pretty hard. Because in my opinion, the beginner-friendly tutorials mostly don't show or tell you everything that you need to know. So I have my little script here opened, and I try to write everything down that I think would be helpful. And we're going to go through this step by step together, starting with a little introduction and what materials you need to start. Then we're going to go next to what to crochet first, like what piece to crochet first, then also how to hold your hook, and a few stitches that you need to start practicing. So this really is probably like the base of crocheting that you need to know. I'm not going to dive too deep into how to crochet an actual like clothing piece. These are just the basics that I want to teach you so you can kind of start crocheting if you want to. Also, a little side note, I'm a right-handed girly, so all of these little tutorials will be from a right-handed perspective. And also there will be timestamps, so you can skip to whatever chapter you need to have a look at, because maybe you already know some stuff. But let's start with a little introduction of where crocheting comes from. So crocheting is a technique to create fabric only using a hook, and you kind of do like tiny loops into each other to create a fabric piece. So you're kind of doing like tiny little knots with your crochet hook. And actually, something that I only learned today while writing the script, crocheting comes from the French word crochet, meaning small hook. I didn't even know that, even though I should know because I had it in school. But anyways, maybe some like extra knowledge for you today. I started crocheting about 3 years ago, and a friend of mine kindly taught me how to do it, so I didn't have to check all the YouTube tutorials out there. And I can tell you, once I picked up that hook and really started my first crochet piece, which was I think 1 year later than my friend taught me how to do it, I couldn't stop anymore. So disclaimer, it's pretty addictive, but I think it's a good one. So let's start with materials you need. So for starting your first crochet project, I personally would recommend cotton yarn. You can get it in any store, basically. You can also, of course, get mine, which in my opinion is the best one to start with. No, but like for real, I think cotton one is best one to start with. I will recommend the size 4 maybe of a yarn, which if I show you now, there are like very different types of yarn. Like these thin ones I wouldn't recommend. I would recommend something that's kinda a size like this. And for example, these two are like, this one is cotton and this one is mohair yarn from BY BELINA, my yarn brand. And I would definitely recommend to start with the cotton one, just because it's easier to see the stitches, to learn from the stitches, and to, yeah, practice. And if you have a look at the yarn labels at your store or wherever you are, you will always find something on the tag which always tells you the meters and the grams that a yarn has. So here, for example, my cotton yarn has 150 meters for 50 grams, and I think that's a pretty good start to crochet with. So maybe just have a look at how many meters for how many grams you have on the yarns that you're looking at in the store, and just take something similar to 150 meters to 50 grams. It's pretty easy to understand, but basically how many meters you have for how many grams shows how thin or thick the yarn is. Just because if you have 50 grams of yarn and you have one yarn with 300 meters, the yarn is a lot thinner than if you have 50 grams with 150 meters, you know? It's kind of easy to understand, but so get yourself a yarn that just feels good, that feels soft, and that kind of doesn't split up too much. I can recommend mine, but you can just get any of, yeah, cotton hook that feels good for you to work with, and a hook. The crochet hook I would recommend is around 3.5 to 4 millimeters. I wouldn't go up any higher. And also there are a lot of different hooks that you can find in your store. Like there are, for example, some of them are like this, that just feel a bit maybe more comfortable for some people, but for me, I personally always use these, which are like not so pricey. You can find them anywhere. And as you can see, like this one, I think is perfect for starting just because it's 3.5 millimeters, and this one is 5 millimeters. So as you can see, the bigger the millimeters, the bigger the hook and the bigger the stitches. And it doesn't mean that it's easier to start with the bigger hook, for me personally, because you have to get this hook through the stitches. So I think 3.5 millimeters would be good for you to start. But if you have anything at home already, just go take that. And also, most of the times, the little tags on your yarns always tell you a little recommendation of what hook to use. For example, at my cotton one, it's 3 to 4.5 millimeters, just because I wouldn't go smaller, because then you like can't really take the whole yarn into the hook. And for example, for mohair, you could go smaller because the yarn is just way thinner, but I still honestly always use 3.5 millimeters for any project. So if you see any of my projects, it's probably with 3.5 millimeters. Let's now dive into how to hold your hook. There are a few common ways how people hold their hook and a few different ones. The two most common ones are the knife grip and the pencil grip, which basically means just that you hold your hook either like a pencil, like this, or like a knife. There are also a few other variations, but I personally use the knife grip. It just feels the most natural for me, and it gives me control and helps me keep my stitches even. So that's the one that I will teach you today. Now that we know how to hold our hook and yarn, let's dive into the stitches. The world of crochet stitches, which is kind of an endless thing, but there are a few basic stitches that are important for you to get to know first, and basically the other stitches just build up on them, so they are then very similar to each other if you know the few basics. So I'm going to teach you how to do the slip knot. I'm going to teach you how to do the chain stitch, the chain ups, and also a single crochet, and then the half double crochet and double crochet will be in a different video. So in this video I will cover up like the first few so you can start practicing, and then in my upcoming videos you can follow along step by step learning new stitches. When it comes to your first project, I would recommend you to do a practice project first. So if you're a beginner, I highly recommend just doing a basic square. As boring as it sounds, it will help you to learn a lot. It will help you with learning how to control the tension, practicing holding the yarn and hook, recognizing each stitch shape, and just building muscle memory for the future project. But I think the most important thing is just understanding what you're doing, because that took a long time for me, just because I didn't really have one to explain to me in detail while I was crocheting. And now enough talking. We're gonna start with the slip knot. The slip knot is most of the time your starting point for a project. So You wrap the yarn around your fingers to form a loop, pull the yarn tail behind and through the loop, slip it onto your hook and tighten. Don't worry, I know this now looked a lot. I will show you in slow-mo how to do it. So you're gonna grab the end of your yarn and you will wrap the yarn around your hand once, and the second time I'm just gonna do like right here on my finger and then up here and hold it on top of here. And now what you want to do is you want to grab your yarn. You can also do it with your fingers if you want to. You can just try whatever feels most comfortable. You're going to go down here, like underneath this one, underneath here, grab this one, pull it through here, and now what you want to do is you can just hold it, and you kind of like, if you get out of here, you can just hold these two, like this is the end and the beginning of the yarn, and just pull it tight. Now you have this very big loop. What you want to do is you want to grab the end of your yarn right here, and if you hold onto your knot and if you play around with pulling the end, you will see that it will get, you know, like smaller. If it's too tight, you can also grab the like yarn that is connected to your yarn ball, and if you pull on here, it will get looser. And if you pull on here, it will get tighter. Another way you could do it is, so if you have this lying like this end connected to your yarn, this one is off, you can then just flip it over like this. So you have the end of your yarn here, and you can just go down this loop right here, hold this here, take this with your hook and try sliding it through. That's how I started learning the slip knot, and now you can just like, you know, play around with pulling it tight and loose. So this is your slip knot, and as you can see, I always do it not too tight but not too loose, so like your hook should slide off easily, but it shouldn't be too loose around your hook. So this is the starting point of kind of each and every project that you might want to do. Now the next thing that is almost the start of every of your projects are chain ups. The chain ups are like the baseline of now your square, so it's always the starting row. It's kind of like row 1. So the chains are the foundation of your crochet work, and for that you always yarn over, like you wrap the yarn over your hook, you pull it through the loop on your hook and repeat until you have the number of chains that you need for your project. Like for now, I would say let's do 15. So let's not go like too crazy on ourselves. And now that we have our yarn on the hook, like our slip knot, I'm going to show you how to hold the yarn onto your left hand. So what I always do is, I personally prefer this. You can do it however you want to do it, but for me, my favorite technique is wrapping the yarn around here like this, you know? And how, if you like hold the hands together, the fingers together, you won't be able to pull the yarn, right? If you slightly open it up, you will be able to slide. And I would just practice this for a second, you know? Like getting a feeling for how loose you have to hold your hand to kind of like let the yarn slide through and to stop it. So, and then kind of like repeating this, you know? Just so you get a feeling for it. Because when you use this technique, you will not have to always, you know, like rewrap and let loose and rewrap, you know? You can just have the yarn in between your fingers, and whenever you need yarn, you can just open up your hand slightly and get yourself, you know, you can pull yourself some more yarn that you might need. This is something I love to do. And I think it's best to learn it like this straight away. I did too. And so now, whatever technique you use for this hand too, I will now show you the knife technique, just because I, like, this is the pencil. this is the knife. And I love the knife. Remember, the thumb will be on this side of the hand grip where the hook is in front, like looking towards you. So, you know, the hook looks towards me, and this is where I place my thumb. And I hold it like a knife, you know? And what I now always love to teach is you will need to pull a bit, you know? And with this hand, you will also need to always hold your project as close to the stitch that you're working on. So now this is our stitch that we're working on, and I want to hold it as close to where I'm working. So this means I will hold the knot, like, you know, like right here with this hand, you know? I have these fingers closed very tight, like always, and I will open it only if I need more yarn. So if I, like for example, am now here, you know, very close, I can't take yarn, I will open up the fingers a bit to slide a bit yarn towards me, hold the knot, and now I will be able to take yarn, okay? Don't worry, I will show you one more time. So, you take your yarn with your left hand like this. Pull a bit, so you have enough space to take yarn onto your hook. And always, I also like the thumb is here. And this finger will also always hold the yarn, or like you can use this finger to pull and push the yarn wherever you need it for the stitch. So whenever you want to just hold something, you can pull it down. And whenever you want to take yarn, you might want to also like hold it a bit more up here. So with this finger and the middle finger, we hold the yarn with your left hand here. Now we're gonna do our first stitch, guys, okay? So we're gonna do the chain ups, which is the base of your project basically. And I would just start with 15 because we don't want to do too much, we don't want to do too less. We want to do, like, we want to start with our first testing project. So you will take your hook, go behind, okay? Let it a bit looser, loosen it a bit up if you feel like it's too tight, you know? And now you need to twist the hook and pull it through this loop that we're holding. And this is what it will look like. And now for the next stitches, I always like to, like, you know, hold it a bit right here and go a bit higher because we always want to go as close to the stitch. And now what I like to do, I pull a bit looser, okay? And now you can also see with this finger, you can also adjust how loose you want this loop to be, because we don't want these stitches to be like this and then go through it and chain, because then they're not the same size, okay? We want to make sure that these stitches are kind of the same size. So you can always, of course, re-grab your yarn if you feel like it's too loose. Hold onto your first chain, give yourself a bit more space, okay? And if your hook is like this, you know, like your loop is too big, just pull with your finger a bit on the yarn. And now, again, from the back, take your yarn, slip it through, okay? And what I always like to do is I always try to just find the perfect way to get, like, you know, to slip through the loop easily and not too tight. Because if this is too tight and you take your yarn and you want to push it through, it won't be able to get through here. So you always make sure to slightly maybe open it a bit more. Like this, okay? So it goes through easily. This first chains don't have to be perfect. Just try to do them similar. And if you're unhappy with what it looked like, you can always just open up, you know? And if there's this loop, this one right here, like if you open it up, it will pop this loop. This one, can you see it? This is where you place your hook again. So don't worry, if you lose anything, You can always just also start from the beginning. There you have your first loop where you can always go through. And now grab your yarn again, always as close to where you want. And always from the back, take your yarn and slip it through. Make sure that they are all the same tightness, kinda. If one is a bit more loose like this, for example, don't worry. Won't be like hard to go through in the end, but just make sure that it's not too tight, because we don't want too tight stitches. Also not for the next row, because in the next row you will have to go through these, and if they're too tight it will be very hard. So I would recommend to do them looser instead of tighter, just because it will be easier for the next row. So count until 15 and then we're gonna meet. And as you can see, while I was crocheting, I always, I don't hold it here because then you can't take the yarn. Always go with these two fingers, these two that hold your project. Always go as close to the hook as possible, like this. And just like here, hold it, pull as much as you need, slip it through, slip it through. And just practice that. Honestly, just practice doing this little chain ups, because these will be the start of each and every project, and these will be essential. Yeah, these are the chain ups. Do 15 and then we're gonna meet again. I'm gonna do my last one right now, and now we're gonna start with row number 1. And now we're gonna do the first row of crocheting, single crochets. So single crochets is, I think, the most basic stitch next to double crocheting. And it's, I think, the easiest and the best one to learn to kind of like see stitches and the piece coming together. And I'm sorry to say, but the first row, like crocheting into the chains, is always the worst. Trust me when I tell you, the second row will be a lot easier. So now this is what your chain ups should look like, and now I'm going to teach you how to do single crochets, or let's say the single crochet stitch. So now this is what your 15 stitches should look like. Make sure that you will easily be able to go through these loops. If it's too tight, I would recommend to open up and try again, okay? And if you have too many stitches, you can always just pull out your hook and just pop the yarn out, and then you have your loop again. So if you have stitches too much, you can just pop them out like this. And for me that was correcto, so I'm gonna do 15 again, like this. Okay. And now for single crochet, you will always have a little extra loop, which is kind of like the end of the row. And this is what we're going to do now. So if you want a project to be 15 chains, you will add one more chain, just because this is the end, and this is where we're not crocheting through. So the next stitch will not go through this one, like this loop that we just did, because this is our extra stitch. It will go through this one, okay? So as you can see, if I hold my project like this, you won't be able to see any stitch to go through. So just turn your project a bit until it looks like this, and you can see these little V's, Can you see them? Like if you pull on your project a bit, you will be able to be like, oh, here's a V, here's a V, and here's a V, and here. And we will always now go through the top of these V's. So always, like one stitch is, as you can see if you twist your project, is 3 loops, okay? One is in the back and a V in the front. Okay, so if you pull the V apart a bit, you'll be able to see like the third strand of yarn kind of going through. And we only want to go through this top V part, okay? So this one, okay? One loop, the top V part. And this is where we will go through for each of the stitches in the first row, okay? So get your hook through the loop. Okay, like this, pull a bit tight, hold it. Now, as I told you, we're not going to go through this first stitch because it's our extra stitch. So now ignore the loop on your hook. Ignore this first V, okay? Just go into this second top V part, like this, okay? Hold it here. Take your yarn from the back, okay? So through, not from the front, from the back. Slip it through, okay? Like this, okay? Now you have 2 on your hook. You can again play with how tight you want them to be. Hold it here. Take your yarn again from the back and pull it through the first and the second one. This is your single crochet stitch. Don't worry, I will show you again. So if you made a mistake, if it didn't work, let it go, pull until you have this again, okay? Until you have your little row again. Also feel free to open up a few stitches again, maybe if something didn't work out, don't worry. Pull everything a bit tight, do your extra stitch. Now again, take your yarn like this, hold it tight, count, not the first V to the second V, okay, this one. We're gonna go through the first top loop. Always make sure to hold this right here because otherwise it will, you know. Take your yarn from the back, like this. Pull it through easily, okay? Make sure to pull a bit tighter the hook with your index finger if needed, okay? Okay, now you have 2. Now what you're gonna do is go from the back and loop through. This was your first stitch. And now, looking at your little V's, you can see that this first V now is taken by this stitch. Can you see it? Like, can you tell that this V is taken? So now we need to go into the next stitch, which is this V, okay? This one right here. This top V. So this one, as you can see, it's taken. We're not gonna go through this again. We're gonna go through the next one. So we're gonna take our loop again. And not gonna go through this first stitch, we're gonna go through this second one. This one is taken, we're gonna go, as you can also see when you like pull, this one is taken, this one is very big. We're gonna go into this V part, the second one. Can always just, you know, push it through a bit, don't worry if it's going a bit harder. Now, again, from the back, your yarn, pull it through, okay? Now you have again 2. And take your yarn again from the back and again pull it through. If something didn't work out, open it again, okay? Like take your yarn loose. You can also go like safety wise into this one, pull, okay? So again, this one is the next one. This one is the free one. Take it, the yarn from the back, pull it through. Make sure to not pull too wide. If you did, re-grab your yarn or just pull a bit. Take your yarn from the back again and pull through. Okay, as you can see, these were our first 2 stitches. 2 new V's. And now pull again onto your base chain. And we're gonna go into the next V. As you can see, the one that is big, like this one, is taken. We're gonna go through the next one, which apparently is this one. You know, can you tell? It's important to be able to tell which stitch is taken because for first time crocheting, I sometimes then did go into this one again, but as you can see, this one is taken by this V. So go into the next one, from the back, the yarn, slip it through. Grab, I always like to not stay here, but re-grab my yarn project. Take the yarn from the back again and slip it through. And now, always kind of like pull this apart maybe, so you can really see where the next stitch is. It is this one. Gonna go through, take the yarn from the back, and now I tend to re-grab, so I have a bit more security to slip through. And just like this, we will now continue until the end of the row. And don't worry guys, the first row, in my opinion, is always the most horrible. just because you don't have as much already crochet to grab onto, like, you know, to hold. So always, if this feels weird right now, for example, like going through here, re-grab closer to where your stitch is. That helped me a lot to always re-grab the project closer to what I'm doing, and just always make sure to twist it so you can see everything correctly. Like if something looks like this, twist it a bit. If something looks like this, twist it a bit. So you can always see the V's. The V's should smile at you. And now continue until you arrive at the end of the row. Now I'm almost at the end of the row. As you can see, here's my knot, and this last stitch, this one right here, might be a bit tight, but there's one left. Can you see? So this is the last V right here. I'm gonna take this one, like very close. It is very, like, it is the closest to the knot you can find. And you will also take this stitch. And now we have row 1 finished. And it should look something like this. And it's really important to get that very last chain, so whenever you feel a bit unsure of if you really got that very last chain of your row, please count, because most of the time the last stitch really gets a bit hidden, I would say, especially if you start to learn how to crochet and you don't really, like, you're not able to tell the stitches for like the beginning. Just count maybe, because that helps a lot, trust me. Because otherwise your piece, like your square, won't be a square. It will turn into a triangle probably. So make sure to count the stitches and really find that very last stitch. It's important, trust me. I didn't believe it at first until I had triangles. The only thing that is very important for you to now be able to see is if you kind of like rotate them to like your piece like this, you should be able to see the V's. Because for the next row, we're gonna go not only through the back V, but through both, okay? So through these, which if looking from the side might be not so easy to tell. Like, you know, from the side, you have to go through here. But sometimes from the side, it's not so clear in my opinion. So if you're not sure, twist it like this. And now you can see I want to go through this V and through this V, okay? This is where we're setting our stitches for the second row. So you can practice like this to just really grab only the 2 top stitches, okay? And here we are, row number 2 of your single crochets, and also kind of every row that will follow. So every row that will follow from now on will be the same as this one. And so if you twist your project and see these V's, like this, you can also count. So these are your stitches. Every V is 1 stitch. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, you know, and you should be able to like count it down until you have 15. And now we want to start the second row. So if you're not sure where you're at, always have a look at the V's. This is just game changer in my opinion. So we're gonna pull our yarn like this, a bit tight. And for our single crochet stitch, we will always start each row with a turning chain, which is an extra chain you do at the beginning of each row, just to make the end even. So before starting the next row and turn your work, because we now want to crochet into this direction, you will chain up 1, which is basically just slipping the yarn through, just like we did before. And now you will turn your project around. Is actually like, it doesn't matter in which direction you twist, just twist it. And now we will crochet into this first stitch, okay? This first V, which if you like really pull that project apart, is right here, okay? And if you twist it to the top like this, okay, it is this very first stitch, this one, okay? Like the one closest to the chain up. And you can also count from this first chain to this one, but it's actually just the closest you can find. Like this was your chain up, this is the one in your hook, and right here, this one, this V, is the one you will crochet through, okay? So I'm gonna take my yarn, and I will now go through this very first stitch, the top V, okay? As I showed you, we are going through the 2 top V parts, okay? Like this. The 2 top ones. From the side, it looks like this, where we go through, and if you look from the top, you will see that you're only going through the 2 top V part stitches, okay? So, go through here, grab your yarn from the back, slip it through, like this. Same like row number 1, re-grab if you want to. Take your yarn again from the back and slip it through. And now we're going to continue like this for the whole row. So into the next stitch, which if you twist to the top, you will be able to see this V, this one, and this is where you will go through. Okay? From the side, this one, from the top, it's the V. It is the next one to the one we already took. Like this is already taken, can you see? There we have already a new V. Now you want to do it here. Slip through, pull it, from the back, pull it through, re-grab, and pull it through again. And we're making new V's, as you can see. So, now again, through this V part, always make sure to grab closest to the V. If you turn it to the top, okay, you can tell it. Slip it through. And slip it through again. Turn it to the top. If you're not sure where to go into your next stitch, turn it. Find the V that is not taken, which is this one. Go in here. Might be a bit tight. So, slip through here, take your yarn, slip through again. So now we are coming to the end. And if you are right here, right now, you might think, okay, I've been through all the V's, right? Been through all the V's, looks like it for first. But you've actually not been through all V's. So if you count, please make sure to count. This is your side, you twist it, this is your first V. And if you count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. One is missing. And that's exactly what happens a lot of the times. And what happened to me also a lot is I sometimes lost the last stitch. Because if you pull it, you can think that you're finished. But actually, if you twist it, you can see that here is still a V. Can you tell? Like right here, this is the last V. This is where you have to go through to make this side even. Sometimes you can tell, like here's something missing to make like the row into one straight line. But sometimes it also is a bit hidden. So now this is where we have to go through. This last V is sometimes a bit harder to find, but just make sure to count if you're unsure if you have all the V's or not. And now take your yarn again, slip it through. And now this is your first row. And now for the second row, we're going to do the exact same thing. So for single crochet, please chain up 1, because otherwise it won't make sense in the end. And as you can see, if you have it like this, this is the first V that we're going through. You can also set a marker if you want to. So this V, this one right here, like this one is where we're going through. And twist it, keep the V, keep it in mind. Where was it? Right, it was this one. And now you want to go through here, through the V. take the yarn from the back again, slip through. Now you can already, like, you already have much more grip onto your project, like the project is bigger to grip onto. Still go closest to the stitch that you're doing, slip it through. Twist it to the top if you're not sure where your next stitch has to go. If you look from the side, go to the top view and just find your V, you know, like this. Pull the yarn through, pull it through again. Also, if you like pull it apart, can you see these holes? Like this one, this one, this one, this one. This is where your stitches go. Because this is the space between the top two stitches and the project down here. And when you're starting, it's a bit harder to tell sometimes where your stitches have to go through. But this right here, here and here is where your stitches go through, and you will one day easily find these stitches without like having to look to the top and then see, okay, this is the V that I'm going through, this one, or like this one, or like this one. Someday it will be like easy to see and to be able to tell where to go through. It's a bit difficult at the beginning of crocheting just because sometimes if it's too tight, your stitch, you might not be able to actually tell where this little hole is to go through. So just practice this stitch and just do a little square and just make sure to really get this very last stitch, you know, this one. So I'm gonna do one more row and show you how to end the row, and then I'm going to leave you alone with the rest of your single crochet practicing patch. So now, as you can see, here is still this V, this one, which is our last one. This one is our turning V. And if you count, again, like from like this one, you won't count this one on your hook, just this one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. And here this was your turning stitch, so 14. You realize, yeah, one missing. So we're gonna go into this V right here. Take your yarn from the back, slip it through again. And if you count your stitches now, you should end up with your 15 stitches. And this is kind of what it should look like. And now you can always just repeat the same steps that we just did. So make sure to chain up one, turn around your project and crochet until you arrive at the end again. And let's say you're now at this point and you want to end your project. Yeah, like you want to end your first practice square. You're just going to start slipping through again, just the way that you would like to start a new row. And for some people, they now cut off the yarn, which I will do too, and slip it through right like this. But for me, almost most of the time, I like a bit of extra security. So I do a double knot, which means I'm gonna do another chain up. 2 chain ups, pull the yarn through, and now just pull it tight, tight, tight. And this is what it looks like. And now I would recommend you to, before switching to a different stitch, before switching to crocheting an actual project with this, what we just learned, please just practice at a little practice square, because these patches actually taught me a lot about my technique. I learned so much with it, and I learned to just actually understand the stitches behind crocheting, because that's important for your future projects, to understand where your stitches have to go through, to always go through the top V, and to, yeah, just easily learn your technique on how to hold your yarn, how to, like how tight you have to hold your fingers so that the yarn doesn't slip through, and just stuff like that that makes it easier for the project in the end. So now feel free to practice this. And I hope that this was kind of a good introduction video. I tried my best with the explanations and tried to show it as good as possible. If you have any other questions, you can slide into my Instagram DMs. If you have any, I don't know, tips on how to explain stuff better, or if you have any questions, comment down below. Feel free to follow me everywhere, show some love if you liked the video. I tried my best. And in the upcoming videos, I will follow up on this tutorial, this like very beginner friendly video, and I will then show you a few stitches that will be maybe nice for you and your future crochet projects. And also, if you want to have like a little overview of all the stitches, that would be nice. I also have a stitch helper on my website, which basically are drawings that I drew for you of each and every stitch. Like, I think the slip knot, the chain ups, the single crochet, double crochet, and mesh stitch. Everything of that is in the description. I will link it down below, just because in my opinion it's very helpful to just print that out and have it lying next to me crocheting. So just wanted to mention that this also exists. And until then, have a nice rest of the day, night, or whatever. And I hope I could inspire you to crochet a bit.